Hi everyone, so several weeks ago I did a video review on the Scoot boot and I wanted to follow up with some more thoughts on it. These are excellent boots and I came from using Easyboots for years. I started with the boas, used the trail a lot, then the backcountry, and then went to the Old Max. Tried the new backcountry, the one that's all black, tried that as well. The reason why I had to change out of all of this style, and then I got really worried that I couldn't find a boot that would work for us, is because I found that Lasser would strike the inside with his inside leg and just gouge out his legs. And I have video and all that, so you can look it all up and see if you're interested. But he would just gouge those out. And to be fair, I contacted Easy Boot and they're like, oh my gosh, we've never heard of such a thing. But because they have changed all their styles to where they now this is the backcountry. They have these. Anytime they have something like this, it juts out and then it gouges him. And then their new style, you can't even get this style anymore. This is their old style. Their new style is the black one, and it actually jets out here because it's this hard plasticky rubber thing. So it jets out more as a triangle, and then it also has that stabilizing strap. The reason why they put that strap there is because these are all Velcro. So you Velcro this on, and there's this one has a 3-step Velcro. So one, whoops, sorry. So 1, 2, 3. And then their new style is a 2-step Velcro with the strap, because they were having issues with the Velcro staying on, which I encountered too. So of these ones, when I was still trying to figure out what boots I liked, the Easy Boot Trails worked great for me. And it's because this design is a high top design, and they're actually getting away with that. This design was awesome because it had the rivets over here to keep this. You can open it right up, slip the hoof in, and then you got these high tops that really help to hold the hoof in there without it slipping off. And these worked great for me, but they don't make it like this anymore. So then this one, their backcountry, this is supposed to be a step up above the trail. And the problem that I encountered right away with these is that it's a low side. Low side, Lasser just flips those right off. And then at one time, he actually popped this whole piece off. And it's kind of hard to see, but that's because it's these 2 little tiny screws that hold this in. And I believe I have a video showing that when I still had that broken one. Then I did a video and showed that. And then I tried the Old Max G2s. This one actually worked pretty well because this one was slim and it has the high sides. And so we already decided we like this design, and it's pretty slim, but you can see it's already tearing. And also he did end up rubbing some of these things can rub. And then we tried the Cavallos, and the Cavallos pretty slim once again, but you see how the leather, I bought these used, but the leather starts going like this. It starts to flip up. This Velcro is almost useless. The only way I can keep these on is by wrapping the whole thing with vet wrap, and then it stays on, and it's okay for small, light riding, but not when we do our heavy riding. So, but this one is kind of a mix between a low side for the hard part, and then this is higher, but this one holds his hoof pretty well and doesn't come flying off. So other than it's still quite bulky, or bulkier than Lasser likes, and the Velcro is already coming apart and all that stuff, then these are actually really nice boots as well. Now the Renegades are the only ones that I haven't tried on him, but those ones are also bulky, and they're also stiffer. Their soles are stiff. All of these, the sole is stiff. You can't bend the sole at all. So here we come to the scoot boot. Now the difference is this sole is flexible. So this gives them much better feel. It also has a really great tread. If you compare the tread to, this is the Trail, this is the Old Max, this is the Backcountry, and these are the Cavallo treads. So this is a great tread, and it even has little bumpies over here, and then the frog support here. It also has, I'm not sure if you can see that. Oh, there we go. There's little bumpies inside so that the hoof can actually grip on in there. There's all these little bumpies inside, and that's something that none of these have. So that's great. It's totally flexible, so it kind of hugs on. It's got the high sides. It's totally resistant to mud and stuff. All of these ones, you get it wet, it stays soaking wet. I've had times when I get, let's say, all tacked up, and then something happens, and I'm thinking, oh, I want to rinse them down real quick or whatever, but then I'm like, oh, he's wearing his boots. That means I'm going to have to take off his boots or whatever, and sucks. Well, these ones, I don't even have to worry. I can spray it and everything. I can dunk these in water, and it's, you know, does not retain any water, and it dries very quickly. There's been times where I go for a ride later in the evening, and then I always spray everything down and wash them off. I know this one doesn't look like it, but I you know, usually do that, and then I sit them to dry, but it's at nighttime, and then I want to ride the next morning, and I grab the boots, and the boots are still wet and heavy and soggy, and that I'm like, that has to suck to put on wet boots. And that's when I started to not rinse them off if there was a possibility of that happening. So it's just something that I had to juggle versus this. Now these work like this. And these are pretty easy to do if you have issues, like sometimes it's a little bit stiff to put them on. Well, right now, my fingers are all sore because I've been tying rope halters all night last night until I was getting blisters. But if you're having issues, you can just stick a hoof pick in there and pull it over, and then it just loops across. And that's the same for these. You just pull it over the button, and then it just pulls on like that. And these are not meant to be tight. All of this is all nice and soft and flexible. So it stays on because of the shape, kind of, and then it molds to the hoof, and also it bends and just really moves. Now the problem that this might cause is that if your horse is super tender, then they might be able to still feel stones and stuff. So you can put a pad in there, but even with that, it may not be as stiff as, you know, something like this that does not bend at all, or the Renegades are a lot stiffer. So, you know, if your horse is super tender, then maybe they don't want something where it's that flexible. Oh, the other good thing is you see this open toe. That is really great for any horse that is sensitive, or if they have a health condition where you can't put pressure on that toe. Then this is nice and open, so it won't put pressure and anything on that toe. Now another problem, it's just minor, but these type of boots tend to get that dirt and stuff caked in there, and this is actually hard like cement. It's just sand and dirt and water and stuff, but I can't scrape this off. I actually have to use a screwdriver and really chip at it and chip out little pieces in order to get that out. I never have those kind of problem with these. These are so easy to rinse clean. You just hose them off real quick and then they're clean. This material is also the best when it comes to all the elements, sun and mud, rain, everything, because nothing sticks to it. I have gone through heavy mud and clay, and this thing comes out all caked in it. Oh, first off, his hoof sinks completely in deep sand, in the mud, and when he pulls his hoof out, I'm like looking anxiously thinking it's going to be gone, but it comes right up with it. And it comes up with it because all that stuff can just ooze right out of it. So it's not like when he pulls his hoof back up again, this whole thing is going to be, you know, filled with mud and wet and heavy and help pull it down. It just, when he pulls his hoof back up, all that gunk just falls right out of it. And this is when it looks brand new. This is when it's a lot more used. But a huge difference is that when these guys, after about 4 rides, these have about expanded a size. Meaning they've loosened up, they've broken in, you know, the between the leather and canvas and all of the materials just kind of, you know, loosen up like a lot. They stretch out a lot to where sometimes after the 4th ride, they're too large. They fall right off of him. And that is a huge problem. These, after 4 rides, 5 rides, 6 rides, they do break in that when it comes from factory, then this is all nice and, you know, stiff and firm, and it holds its shape. Now this one is just gonna be softer, but it's still the same size. It may have stretched out a little bit, but it's definitely not the kind of stretch out that this one. Basically, the stretch out that this one, or the break in, when this one breaks in, it seems like it just molds better to his hoof now, and where it used to rub, it doesn't rub anymore and stuff like that. Plus, when this one did rub, then it was more like getting a blister on your foot. And when these were rubbing, it was like taking out chunks of meat. So a whole different style of rubbing. Some people were concerned about this, and yeah, this can rub, but if you have the right size, which I've been playing with, then it doesn't rub at all. And also these are flexible and soft. But they can rub if it's the wrong size. That's what I'm going to show you in a little bit, how to choose the right size. When this goes into water, I know it's going to be different because, you know, if there's a hoof inside, that's going to take up a lot of the space, and it can't fill up that much with water. But still, I mean, you can still see that there's a lot of water, and it's now wet, and there's still quite a lot of water in there. And the thing is, well, I think there used to be little holes where water could drain out, but now I don't see any. You see that? It's just all enclosed. So there really isn't a place for water to really drain out other than coming out the sides. But otherwise, that whole thing, the whole plastic bit, is holding the water. Versus this one, and when I go through thick mud, what happens is it gets all caked in mud, and then because this doesn't hold any moisture, the mud dries real quick, especially when we're, you know, walking, trotting and all that. It dries and then it just flakes right off because there's nothing for the mud to hold on to, versus this where mud, where was my muddy one? Like this, where mud can really grip onto it, you know, especially when it starts fraying and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that's another thing. This is the same age or the same amount of rides, same amount of miles. And look, you see this is already breaking down and stuff like that. And this one is the same amount of miles, same amount of rides right now. And it's still pretty much like new.